I can get a fresh shower. I can feel like I've washed my entire body. I've washed my hair. I've washed my face. I've washed everything and feel like I've really thoroughly bathed with only 0.8 gallons.
Hello everyone and welcome back to our next video. So today we get a chance to talk to Carrie. Carrie, thanks for joining.
Hi, thanks for having me again.
So Carrie, we did a tour of your Sprinter van several years ago, but since then you've added something to your train, so to speak. So tell us a little bit about that.
When you and I spoke last, I was full-time on the road. Since then, I am probably 4 to 6 months out of the year on the road. A little tired of driving. I got calluses on my fingers from the steering wheel. True story. And I'm finding that I'm just not driving as much, but I'm moving more.
Okay.
In my own body. I'm exercising. I'm, doing more weights. I needed a shower. I wanted a little more space because I'm still working full time. So I added a 17-foot trailer. This is Sporty Spice. It's a Sportsman Classic made by KZ. The thing that I love about this one is it is a toy hauler, which means that it has the ramp that comes up and down and you can load stuff. But what it also means is that it's a much lighter weight rig at baseline. So the dry weight, as they call it, so that is the weight of the trailer without water, without any of the extra add-ons, is much lighter, meaning it's just a little bit easier for my van to tow it, but it's also just a little bit more versatile. I'm able to seat more friends because there's open space. It's a bigger box that's just a little bit more open. I carry a bike with me these days.
Let's go ahead and just do a tour, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's go.
Meet Sporty Spice. She is my 2012 Sportsman Classic toy hauler. She is 16 or 17 end to end, and I believe it's a 14-foot box. Come on in. One of the main draws of having a toy hauler was versatility in the space. So both of these two opposing benches, besides being wildly uncomfortable, you can seat probably 8 people in here, plus, maybe one or on either end. So if I wanted to host game nights, if I wanted to have a common meal. So I have the van. The van serves as my bedroom, my bathroom, my kitchen. I have my 12-volt fridge there. When I bought this, there actually was a 3-way propane fridge right here that I tore out. I capped off the propane line, again, because I wanted to maximize this space in here. I'm doing weightlifting these days, not much, but teeny tiny weights. It's still nice to be able to move around. So this actually flips down. If I were living in this full time, I would probably want to optimize some of this for more cooking space. But just so you know what I have, out of the box, it comes with a microwave, which I don't have in my van. It does come with kind of a traditional propane stovetop. It works. I tested it, but I don't use it. If I run out of power on a cloudy day like today, it actually is kind of nice to be able to have this as a backup. I have 5 gallons of black for the traditional RV toilet. I have, I think, 10 gallons of gray, and I added an aftermarket 15-gallon fresh tank right behind the axle.
So it didn't come with a freshwater tank?
It did come with a freshwater tank, but and it was actually kind of all seasons. They have all the weight in the front. And because I want to adjust that a little bit, I put it behind the axle so that the fresh water would be back there to offset some of the weight in the front, because I'm not carrying around side-by-sides. I'm not carrying around these big items that will sit largely behind the axle. I still have to make sure that things are equally balanced, so there's roughly 10% of the total weight on the tongue so that it tows stably. The shower was one of the main features that I wanted. Any traditional RV is going to have a shower. So there's really not a lot that's special about it, but as someone who's been in a van for 6 years, I am so thrilled to have a shower. You come in general, it's a conventional RV toilet. What I don't like about it is that it's plumbed to the water line, which means that it actually gets a little bit of extra water coming in, so when you flush the toilet, that's one of the main reasons I actually prefer I still prefer 100% the composting toilet that I have in my van. So for the act of showering itself, there are a couple of things that I modified. So first of all, I have a Gyser shower, and having a warm shower when you get back from a run, mwah, Mwah.
What is the Gyser system?
The Gyser is a standalone shower system. The one that I have has a heating element, so it holds about 0.8 gallons of water. And it will heat it. They have an option that doesn't heat as well. You can also just add like 1/3 hot water from a kettle, and that'll heat it up. And then it has an electric 12-volt pump that will allow you to pump the water out into a sponge, and you can sponge up, kind of get yourself all soapy and lathered, but you can take that attachment off as well and use that as a more kind of traditional shower. Aside from the AC, the Gyser is the best investment I've made in any gadget on the van or in the trailer since I've been on the road. The limiting factor is usually fresh water, and so that's why I put the extra large tank on, extra large for a van lifer, 15-gallon tank, and why I still prefer to use the Gyser, because I can get a fresh shower. I can feel like I've washed my entire body, I've washed my hair, I've washed my face, I've washed everything, and feel like I've really thoroughly bathed with only 0.8 gallons, as opposed to using the traditional shower that's in here, which I still have, which will probably use at least 3 gallons. And then that's an extra 3 gallons of gray that I'm also limited by. All of my tools, I've got my drill, I've got way too many random connectors for solar projects that never seem to be done. But in general, having pre-existing storage is a really nice benefit. So while there are some nice, neat spaces up front, again, the way that a single axle trailer or just trailers in general work, because I don't have 1,000 pounds in the back, I want to try to put some of the storage behind especially for some of the heavier stuff potentially. One of the big problems I've had with this trailer is that because it's so light, it will bounce around quite a bit. And while that doesn't actually interfere with my towing, it looks like an earthquake went off in here when I park anywhere. And it probably takes me 20 minutes to get everything settled again. I have yet to come up with a really effective way to secure down the cushions, for instance. Those will rattle around and go everywhere, right? Things up here, this was a shelf that the prior owner added, which I love, except for the fact that everything comes flying forward. So I have to take that stuff down when I'm not parked. As those who have seen my other videos, I have tried an extensive number of different ACs. This is a 13-year-old window unit, and it runs great. It cools this space really, really well. I mean, it's an open space. These RVs are never going to be the most efficient, certainly not as efficient as a house in terms of how it is insulated or anything like that. But window units amongst AC units are some of the most efficient at running. Max, it pulls about 750 watts, which means that it's actually pretty easy for me just to plug it into the back of my van, plug it in at an RV park, and keep myself really nice and cool.
Since you have a really good van electrical system, do you still have an electrical system in here?
Well, you have to have an electrical system. So the first investment I made was putting a 100 amp hour lithium battery on the tongue. You need that at minimum to run the lights, to run the fan, but as energy hungry as my lifestyle is, that doesn't go very far. For instance, I don't have an inverter in here hardwired in. So having 100 amp hours of battery on the tongue, all that's going to do is run the fan, the lights, might run the furnace for a little while, but it actually isn't going to take you very far. So you do probably want to supplement it. The problem with this is that when you get into the electrical box back there, it's like spaghetti. There's no documentation for it online. You have to trace all the 12-volt lines. They go under, they go around. I am also the second owner, so there have been some modifications, which, you know, if you're not necessarily someone who wants to get in there and try to figure out what the electrical system is doing, could be a liability. I don't mind that. I like a project. But one of the decisions I made in buying this was to go with an aftermarket all-in-one system. They're known as solar generators. They're known as like portable battery banks. Bluetti, EcoFlow, Jackery are some common ones.
What did you end up with?
I have a Bluetti and an EcoFlow. Some of the complications of buying an additional battery system, while it's great to have the inverter, solar that you can just plug and play, have whatever size unit you want, it is more expensive, but it's lower maintenance. And the Bluetti's treated me very, very well. I've had it for probably 3 years now, and I have since bought a used EcoFlow Delta Pro It's a 300 amp hour lithium battery. I bought it used. It was lightly used. Someone took really good care of it. And so I was able to get it for about 1/3 of the price that a new one would be, with very light usage. So I have 2 flexible panels that I'd been using as deployables for a couple of years. In the winter, especially when the sun's really low, sometimes you just need a little bit of extra power to make sure you get up to 100%. What I decided to do is actually upgrade to a new technology, which is more expensive and less efficient in terms of the square footage and how much wattage you get in. And I use SIG panels up there now. And the SIG panels are just basically designed a bit more durable. There's some really good videos out there that show that demonstrate the durability of the SIG's panels as an alternative to the traditional monocrystalline or polycrystalline solar panels that are out there. So I work full-time on the road. I have for the last 7 years that I've been on the road. So not only is electrical a priority, but having a really comfortable space to work as well. And one of the main contributors to getting the trailer was having a dedicated workspace. I used to have a big fridge here that we pulled out, not only for the weight, but it's redundant with my van. And this is actually kind of a cool little setup. I'm actually kind of proud of it. When I am traveling or when I need a little bit of extra space, this will fold down. And so it will go like this.
Oh, wow. So it doesn't affect the monitor at all?
Nope. Nope, and the monitor's mounted on there, so technically the monitor will swing out. The couches out here will fold into a king-size bed, so if I wanted to snuggle up to someone, I don't have anyone to snuggle up to right now, but when the day comes, we can swing this out and watch a movie on the 34-inch monitor. One of the consequences of pulling the fridge out, while there's a weight savings, there were holes in the wall for proper ventilation and access to maintain the systems of the fridge. So there's a hole here, there's a hole here, there's a hole here. So putting the desk unit here was a way to kind of cover it up. The vents are still on the outside, but you don't want someone reaching in and being able to like jimmy the lock,
Of course.
So it was just a design decision that I made, not only to give myself the space for the dedicated workspace, but also practically to cover the holes in the wall. This will actually fold out into a full king-size bed, which is great if you're a couple or someone who wants that extra space. One of the decisions that I made 7 years ago when I built my van and stand by is I didn't want to make my bed up every day. So I use these. I can have a guest in here. It's really nice to have the dedicated space if they want some privacy. For co-working. I don't use this as an actual bed. I just use it for the couches and as a social space.
Carrie, thank you so much for giving us a tour of the new addition to your RVing family. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So just out of curiosity, we never got into this, but how much did you pay for the trailer?
So I paid about $5,000 for it. It's about a 12-year-old rig. It was kept in Arizona, which means that it was in excellent shape. As I mentioned throughout the interview, there were definitely some things that could use improvement. But yeah, I was mostly buying it as a box that I could customize however I wanted. And $5,000 for a rig in this shape felt like a really good deal.
Yeah, and it adds so much space to what you currently have, and just that openness. Absolutely loved it. So folks out there, what did you think of the Sportsman? What did you think of the room in there?
For me, I would actually love to get some feedback. So this rig is still fairly new to me. This is only the second trip I've taken it on. And as you heard, I had a little bit of trouble trying to figure out how to secure some of that storage in the back, especially that stand-up paddleboard. So if anyone has any suggestions for how I better utilize the space towards the ramp in the back there, would love to hear it.
Leave it in the comments below.
Thank you.
If you got anything out of today's video, please give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel, share it with friends, and until next time, see you down the road. So long.
Because I'm going to be a little taller than her.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
That is not how that goes in.
Take number 2.
Okay,
all right, you good?
it.
All right, loosen.
Is this okay? Okay.
All right, you ready?